Fox 5 News at 10 starts right now.
Irma tears through the Caribbean, setting its sights on the Florida coast.
The storm is bigger, faster, and stronger than Hurricane Andrew.
A mass exodus out of Florida and a major influx of visitors to Georgia.
We're going to be stuck down there with no provisions, so we want to get out while the going's good. And I got my whole family, my whole crew here. We're going to Georgia.
Tonight, new concern as an updated track puts Georgia in the line of fire.
We're talking about the Florida coast, we're talking about the Georgia coast.
We're talking about all the coasts and need to prepare now.
Amid much uncertainty, one thing is clear. This monster storm is not slowing down.
And get ready, because when that hurricane is coming, when it gets close, it's too late.
Hurricane Irma is already the most powerful hurricane ever recorded in Atlantic Ocean history, and it's only growing in size tonight.
That's right. The actual scale of the storm is hard to imagine, but to put it in context, the hurricane is now about the size of Texas. It is so strong that it registered on seismometers in the Caribbean. That's the equipment used to measure earthquakes.
Well, the Category 5 hurricane made landfall in the Caribbean early today with winds of up to 185 miles an hour and gusts much higher than that. At least one death has been reported so far. And right now, the storm is just north of Puerto Rico. More than 600,000 people are without power, 50,000 without water, and officials say it could be up to 6 months before power is fully restored.
Well, tonight, all eyes turn to the U.S. coastline, with Georgia Governor Nathan Deal declaring a state of emergency for 6 coastal counties. Fox 5 Storm Team Chief Meteorologist David Chandley tracking the latest model and joins us now. David?
Sinead and Russ, what we've been looking at through the evening hours is this storm has not changed. It's still just as intense as it was about 24 hours ago. And as you said, it's bypassed Puerto Rico, at least the eye of the storm. The backside now lashing that island. And we're going to see this continue as it moves off to the west-northwest. I mean, look at our models that we've been looking at. Follow the spaghetti models. And look, they're all heading to the west-northwest, kind of parking it between Cuba and the Florida Straits as we make our way on into, yes, the first part of the weekend. Then we wait on that right turn, making itself right up through the Florida peninsula. And so therefore it's going to impact Florida in a big way. And that's from the west coast to the east coast. Take a look at the latest information now from the National Hurricane Center that we have for you right now. And you see that we have sustained winds still at 185 miles an hour. And look at that pressure. Look at that. 916 millibars. That is unbelievable. And here we go, racing towards the Turks and the Caicos over the next 24 hours as a Cat 5 storm. Could see a storm surge there of 15 to 20 feet. That's that initial wall of water. That's going to do some damage, no doubt about it, in the Turks and the Caicos. All right, so here we go. There's our point down to a Cat 4 storm, but that's a major hurricane just south of Miami, and then makes that turn to the north. And this is what we're looking at now into the weekend. And we'll be monitoring this because look where the beeline is, right into Savannah as a major hurricane along about Monday afternoon. So let's take a look at it now. As far as those models go, you can see how they just kind of stay together. Now we've got a couple diverging into Cuba, but they still all make the right turn and come right up the Florida coast. What's interesting about this, not drifting off to the northeast, but heading due north. So yes, we're going to have impacts in and around the Georgia coast, no doubt about it, as this thing moves up to the north. So look how it's just going to get pounded. Tremendous storm surge along the Atlantic coast. This is going to be Sunday night into Monday, and this is just one example of the models bringing it up in the Savannah River Valley. The impact here in metro Atlanta, North Georgia, we'll get some wind, we'll get some rain, but I think the damaging wind and the flooding rain is going to be off here to the north and to the northeast. We got a lot to cover on this. We'll talk more about that, and the forecast leading up to that looks pretty decent. All that coming your way in just a few minutes.
All right, we'll see you then. David, thanks. Meantime, here at home, major preparations are underway to deal with Irma. The Red Cross Coordinating Center and the Regional Federal Emergency Management Center, or FEMA, are both located in metro Atlanta. Before, during, and after a weather event like this, it's FEMA officials who handle the preps and aftermath for Georgia and 7 other southern states. Now, FEMA says the states are already sending in requests for supplies like water, tarps, and generators. Officials say everyone, not just Florida residents, should be prepared.
We're talking about the Florida coast, we're talking about the Georgia coast?
We're talking about all the coast needs to prepare now. Because think about this. Right now, Florida is evacuating. Millions and millions of people are going to be ordered to evacuate in the next day or two. They're all heading north. We know that there's going to be uncertainties, but we plan for the worst.
It's already happening. The Red Cross is advising families how to take responsibility for their own needs. Officials say each family member should have an emergency kit with supplies for each person. They add that there are 3 simple steps: make a kit, make a plan, and be informed.
We're going to be stuck down there with no provisions. I got my whole family, my whole crew here. We're going to Georgia.
Well, tonight there is chaos amid dwindling options for escape. Now, an emergency kit may not be enough for folks in Florida. Thousands in Florida now heading to Georgia before Irma makes landfall. You can see where traffic is backed up for miles. Rental car companies now out of cars, and gas stations closed for business.
Out of gas, yeah?
Yes, sir. Gas is running out everywhere right now, so I'm just a little too late trying to get it, I guess.
Well, with a gas shortage in Florida, many turning to air travel, and Georgia seems to be the most popular spot to ride out the storm.
Fox 5's Nathalie Pozo is live at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport tonight and spoke with some Florida residents who are evacuating the storm zone. Nathalie?
Rustin, Florida residents are flooding into Georgia, some of them hitting the road, other taking flights into Hartsfield-Jackson. I spoke to some residents today who tell me they've lived through hurricanes like this before and do not want to go through it again. No water, long gas lines, no way is what some Florida residents are saying about Hurricane Irma. They're making Georgia home for the next few days.
And anybody who's been in South Florida remembers Andrew. I mean, this sounds just like Andrew. Andrew was a Category 4 or 5.
Flights arrived all day at Hartsfield-Jackson from Florida. Delta even adding flights from South Florida. This woman landed in Atlanta from Fort Lauderdale, paying whatever it took to get out.
It was like $1,300, but you know, you can always get your money back. But if you lose your life, you can't get that back. So I'm happy I actually took the flight.
Floridians also hitting the road, a traffic nightmare on Florida interstates as officials say many who are evacuating are headed to Georgia. I called several hotels along I-75 from Valdosta to Atlanta. The ones I spoke to in Middle Georgia say they're full. In Metro Atlanta, some hotels are seeing a spike in reservations and anticipate more.
We went to Miami and they're going crazy over there. So his company got us a car to drive to Orlando.
Patty Kowalczyk and her husband had to cut their St. Martin vacation short after Hurricane Irma plummeted the island. After more than 24 hours of traveling, they were able to get back home safely.
And we left a lot of people behind, though. There's a lot of people in our hotel that were stuck there, which I feel really bad about because we have some pictures about what happened after, and it's not pretty.
And the Atlanta Motor Speedway is opening up its grounds free of charge starting tomorrow for anyone wanting to escape the hurricane's path. Reporting live tonight at Hartsfield-Jackson, Nathalie Pozo, Fox 5 News.
All right, thanks so much, Nathalie. Well, Hurricane Irma shows no signs of weakening as it barrels through the Caribbean and straight toward Florida. Now, we're going to continue to keep a very close watch on its projected path. And of course, we're going to update you throughout this newscast tonight and in the coming days. And remember, you can get updates sent directly to your smartphone at any time of the day or night with our Fox 5 Storm Team app. It's free for Android and Apple users.
When it gets closer, I'm like, oh God, it's a tiger. So I grip my steering wheel real tight. My legs start shaking and I'm like, oh God. And I look over and the tiger looks at me and I look at it and I'm like, what is going to happen now?
Amazing. A tiger on the loose in a Henry County neighborhood, a big one. And tonight we finally know where it came from and where it was going.
Fox 5's Denise Dillon is live for us in Henry County. And Denise, you've learned more about this big cat.
Yeah, I did. It was actually part of an Animal Act touring with Ringling Brothers. Now, its last performance was back in the spring, and it, along with about a dozen or so other big cats, were being transported from Florida to Tennessee. At some point last night, the drivers stopped along I-75 to take a break, and it was at that point the tiger escaped.
I look up, I see something huge, so I'm like, well, what is that? I said, is that a bear? And then as I get closer, I'm like, oh my God, it's a tiger.
You heard that right. Latika McLean has quite a tale to tell about seeing a tiger stroll down the road near I-75 and Jotica Road in Henry County.
That thing was humongous. When I looked over at it, it looked at me. I said, God, please don't let it jump on my car and get me.
Turns out others saw the Bengal tiger too. Henry County police snapped these photos of the big cat on the entrance ramp to 75. It wasn't long after that, Brittany Speck saw the tiger in her yard, a little too close to her dog Journey.
It was massive. Tiger had jumped on top of my dog.
That's when police made the decision to shoot the tiger.
Tiger did make a jump to fence from the back residence here and attacked an animal, and due to the occupants in the home, the officers did make the decision to put the tiger down.
Once the entire story hit the news, police were contacted by Feld Entertainment, who said the tiger was with 13 other big cats who were part of an animal act.
Well, they were on tour with Ringling Brothers and Barnum & Bailey Circus, all throughout North America.
The cats were being transported from Florida to Tennessee, where they would then go back to Europe, where they are from. The drivers stopped to take a break sometime late Tuesday night, and that's when the tiger escaped unnoticed. That is, unnoticed to her handlers, but not to those who spotted the big cat, like Latika McLean. But don't ask her if she took a picture of it.
When you see eye to eye with a tiger, the last thing you're going to want to do is take a picture.
Police and DNR are trying to determine if any charges will be filed against the company transporting those animals. Feld Entertainment says they are working with authorities and trying to figure out exactly where, when, and how the tiger got loose. Reporting live in Henry County, Denise Dillon, Fox 5 News.
Well, that is an incredible story. Denise, thanks. We have new information tonight about a Georgia middle school teacher arrested on sexual assault and child molestation charges. White County special education teacher Leonard Jones was arrested on Monday. Fox 5 has obtained the arrest summary, which shows 3 counts of reckless conduct by an HIV-infected person. Other charges include aggravated child molestation, sexual assault, and sodomy, 3 counts each. The White County School District sent us the following statement that reads in part, "This individual is no longer in the classroom. The district is cooperating fully with law enforcement in the investigation. Our priority is taking care of all of our students."
Well, breaking tonight, a major development in a twisted and horrifying story that unfolded decades ago.
One of Charles Manson's murderous followers was granted parole today. News Edge anchor Tom Haynes is here now with tonight's new developments. Tom?
Well, Russ and Sinead, Leslie Van Houten was the youngest of Manson's murderers. She was just 19 when she killed for Manson, and in a series of murders that spanned Los Angeles and terrorized the city during the summer of 1969. It was the 21st time that she appeared before a parole panel by the time she was granted release. Van Houten wasn't shy in describing what she called the Manson family. She and several other followers killed a Los Angeles grocer and his wife in their home. Members of the victims' families have argued against parole for Van Houten. Governor Jerry Brown, though, signing off on the parole board's decision today.
He's going to have the peer pressure of the name Manson being attached to this, but if they look at the facts of this case, there's no reason not to embrace this grant of parole.
Van Houten was both the youngest and seemingly the most unlikely of Manson's so-called family. She'd been a high school homecoming princess, athlete, and cheerleader before dropping out of school and joining the group of hippies who considered Manson to be a Christ-like figure. Russ and Sinead?
All right, Tom, thank you. A huge slap in the face. Firefighters battling one of the biggest wildfires out west become sitting ducks for robbers.
And controversy brings changes to the Atlanta Police Department. We'll explain the backlash after a number of gay bars were forced to close early on Black Pride weekend.
An armed man in Henry County was shot and killed by police in a tense standoff. The I-team has read the entire case file and found his gun was unloaded. What does it all mean? That story coming up.
Henry County District Attorney Darius Patillo says the deadly police shooting of a man following a long standoff was justified and no charges will be filed.
That's a police shooting that our Fox 5 I team has followed all year. Now, we first obtained eyewitness video of the shooting in December of last year in Henry County.
Senior I team reporter Del Russell examined the entire case file, reviewed all the police video, and is here now with a look at that decision.
Russ, and the file tells a heartbreaking story of a distraught Marine, war veteran, who had an interaction with police that led to his death. But what we didn't know when we first reported this is that the gun Earl Eubanks was holding when he was shot and killed was unloaded. And it wasn't even his. It was his ex-wife's. The 911 call came in last December. A disturbance at a dentist's office. An ex-husband had confronted his wife at her work.
Is the ex-husband.
Hampton police officer Brandon Cooley rushed through the hallway of the office, surrounded by concerned faces, and into the alleyway.
Stacy, don't do it.
There he finds Earl Eubanks face to face with his ex-wife, Stacy Robinson. Stacy Robinson later told police she felt threatened by her ex-husband when he showed up, so she got her gun out of the back seat of her Mustang and put a round in the chamber.
He felt threatened.
Earl Eubanks' mother, Jacqueline Eubanks, is a former reserve police officer and daughter of Georgia's first elected black sheriff.
I mean, it was a threatening situation for him all the way around. From the time that he arrived on the scene and she pulled the gun on him to the time that the police officer came in and he started pulling guns on him. Leave her alone.
According to the GBI report, Stacy and Earl had recently divorced. They had one child.
My son was in Iraq.
Jacqueline Eubanks would later tell police Earl was a Marine back from the war who battled depression, feared losing his daughter, and had abducted Stacy at gunpoint a month earlier. Hey. Arriving at the scene, armed with his taser, Officer Cooley saw the gun and tasered Earl Eubanks.
Drop the gun! Drop the gun! Drop the gun!
That's bravery in action right there.
Lance LaRusso is a former police officer and now an attorney who has written a book on police officer shootings. He examined our video, beginning with Officer Cooley confronting an armed man.
He could have gone for cover himself. He could have left her standing there, but he used the only means available to him, which was the taser.
Eubanks fell, but never dropped the gun.
There was moments I felt like he wanted to be shot.
Earlier, the I-team had obtained exclusive cell phone video of that standoff, taken by an eyewitness, Mike Terrell.
There was moments I felt like he was crying for help.
Now, through an open records request, we've obtained the standoff captured by police officers' body cameras and dashboard cameras. A clearly distraught Eubanks crying out that his life was over.
It's over. No, it's not over.
At times thumping his chest and disobeying commands to drop the gun as officers pleaded with him to cooperate.
Just put the gun down, man. I want you to go home to your family.
The standoff involving a number of Henry County and Hampton police officers on both sides of Eubanks was tense.
Back up, you're putting us in that crossfire situation.
What you saw there was a textbook attempt at de-escalation.
And near the end, Eubanks moved closer and closer to Henry County police officer Justin Boggs, armed with a .40 caliber submachine gun. Boggs pleads.
Stop walking towards me. Stop walking. He's getting too close.
He can raise a gun from his side or from this position in 0.26 seconds, just like that. It doesn't have to come up like this.
LaRusso says numerous studies show the danger for Officer Boggs was that Eubanks could have fired one or more shots before Boggs could respond.
So the officer will be shot 3 times before he can get one shot off.
About 30 seconds later, Boggs fired one shot. The standoff was over.
He could have stopped him many other ways. He could have shot him in the knee. He didn't have to shoot him in the head.
The Henry County DA, Darius Patillo, would not discuss the case with us. He cleared the officer in the shooting. In a press release, Patillo said the shooting was justified because Eubanks refused to drop his gun and walked towards officers with the gun.
It's the right call by the DA, and the thing that people need to remember is those officers will never be the same, ever.
No, I do not think the DA made the right decision. I feel that there was things that should have came out or been exposed that were not exposed.
So case closed. But when we read the police file, we learned this. What police didn't know during the entire 19-minute standoff was that the gun Earl Eubanks was holding was empty. According to Stacy Eubank's statement, she dropped the clip and unchambered the gun as soon as police arrived at the scene. The clip and bullet were marked in the crime scene pictures. Does that change anything in your mind?
Not from the officer's use of deadly force.
I'm not mad at anyone at this point in time. I'm just hurt. My heart is broken. That was my only son, and he was my youngest.
Now, we tried to talk with Stacy Robinson about the incident over the phone. She confirmed that she told law enforcement that she unloaded her gun after it was all over. She didn't want to talk any more about it. Russ?
Some personnel changes at the Atlanta Police Department after APD says one of their shift commanders erroneously closed a number of gay bars early this past weekend. I'm Fox 5's George Franco. I have that story coming up. You're watching Fox 5 News at 10.
Well, some personnel changes at the Atlanta Police Department after a number of gay bars in Midtown were closed too early this past weekend.
That was the end of Black Gay Pride weekend in Atlanta, and now the shift commander who shut those bars down has been pulled from that duty. Now, Fox 5's George Franco joins us from Midtown with more of the story. George?
Well, Russ, it's today fair to say there's been a bit of a community outcry here in the Midtown area after APD erroneously closed down a number of gay bars just down the road here. Now APD says one of the shift commanders involved made a mistake. Surveillance video from 10 restaurant and bar shows a large police presence trying to manage a big crowd late Sunday night. Shortly afterwards, 10, Blake's, G, and 10th and Piedmont, all in the same Midtown area, were, according to police, erroneously closed at 12:30 instead of 2:30 in the morning, which had been approved by the city. One of the employees at one of the bars says he tried to explain to the responding officer that they were allowed to stay open.
We went to their website and printed the APD regulation. It's in the law. There's 4 holidays that fall on Mondays, and those days a restaurant can stay open until 2:30 a.m.
He made a mistake. There were actions he could have taken, and the chief believes he should have taken before asking these bars to shut down for the night.
Atlanta police spokesman Carlos Campos says the Zone 5 morning watch commander who forced the gay bars to close 2 hours early during Black Gay Pride weekend has been reprimanded, moved to another shift. Campos says only the 4 gay bars were closed early, not other nearby bars, which hurt the economic bottom line for the bars.
It was odd. I don't understand why it was just this corner. I'm not sure. I feel like it was discriminatory. I don't know. In some form or fashion, I see that.
Atlanta police insist it was an oversight from the shift commander who could have checked further before closing the bars, pointing out that the lieutenant who was reprimanded is an openly gay officer.
We try to reflect the communities that we serve, and it helps us to understand diverse communities.
A number of the bar folks that I spoke to, some of the managers, tell me that they are now seeking legal counsel as to what will come next. The Atlanta Police Department says that they wanted to point out that the officers didn't physically remove anyone from the bars. They asked the bar managers to clear the bars out, which is what happened. In Midtown tonight, I'm George Franco, Fox 5 News.
I don't think words can quite do it justice. When you're flying in there, I mean, you're just in awe by Mother Nature.
He flew right into the eye of the storm. This hurricane hunter tells us what Irma looks like from the inside. Next.
I'm sure it looks pretty nasty inside and out. This is a massive hurricane. Talking about Irma, we'll talk about the path and the impacts in our weather in the days ahead. That in just a minute.
We're flying up at about 10,000 feet, so we're pretty much directly inside this storm. We have to go through the eye wall, and that's the tricky part, is getting through the eye wall. That's the fun part, where you get the most bumps. And so once you make it through the eye wall, then you have the eye. Oftentimes you have a brief calm period, but then you have to go back out the other end of the eye. And so we did that, I believe, 3 times today.
Wow. Hurricane hunter Trey Alvey says the group collected lots of data while inside the eye. He says that data is then used for models and forecasts so we can better predict the hurricane's activity.
Yeah, can't do it without them. They're
Yeah.
awesome. Reconnaissance squad. All right.
And it sounds like some of the data suggests that Irma could get even stronger potential.
Well, perhaps I'll show you here in just a moment. It's now back out over water, not having any interaction with land, and it's running into areas that the water is actually warmer than where it was coming from. And, you know, that's the fuel that this hurricane has.
Not good news.
No, let me show you Fox 5 Live Viper using the radar out of San Juan, Puerto Rico. And it looks like that Puerto Rico, I mean, they're probably getting torrential rain. They had hurricane force winds along the north coast there of the island, but certainly the eye stayed away from there, didn't go across it like it did the British Virgin Islands or Barbuda earlier. So that's good news. And so, but it's going into just open water, wide open water. All right, so here's the latest, still 185-mile-an-hour winds. We have an update coming your way here in just a few minutes. So we'll bring that to you. And here we go with the track from the National Hurricane Center. Then I popped on, this is sea surface temperatures. Check this out. 86 degrees in and around the Turks and the Caicos, but it's 88 degrees just north of Cuba. That's some very, very warm water. So by Thursday afternoon, here we go with a Cat 5 storm racing through the Turks and then right on into the Straits of Florida along about Saturday afternoon over some very warm water. But we think some of the disruption with the inflow coming across the mountains of Cuba may bring it back down. Still a Cat 4, still a major hurricane making its way. And this is what Russ was talking about, kind of the cone of uncertainty. Yeah, you've got a little bit that's out here over the Atlantic, but still as it goes up that way, it's still going to pound the east coast of Florida. But look at this. It's going to come right into the heart of our state. How about that? Savannah, Tybee Island, Hilton Head. Wow, Monday afternoon. Watch this. This is one of our computer models. This is the latest American model, and you can see it spinning. And there we go, right outside of Miami with hurricane force winds along the coast. All right, and then comes right up the coast, but this one's a little bit further to the north of Savannah, more like Hilton Head and south of Charleston. But you're looking at all that rain that's going to come into east central Georgia. That's the impact that we'll see here. Possibility of some wind, tropical storm force, and then some torrential rain. Heaviest, though, on the right side, or the north and northeast part of the storm. The European model that performed very well, I will point out, this one did really, really well with Hurricane Harvey. So we'll pay a lot of attention to this. This one has it coming right up the gut of Savannah and the Savannah River along about Monday night. Wow. All right, so what are we looking for here in Metro Atlanta? Increasing clouds Sunday night. This is the plan now. Bands of rain, gusty winds up to 30+ miles an hour through the day on Monday. The heaviest rain and the strongest winds will be east of Atlanta. That's with the current projections. All right, let's talk about our weather quickly and show you the temperatures are on the way down. Yeah, the front came through, dropping the humidity, dropping the temperature. No doubt about it, the front's down in South Georgia now. Then here comes the cooler air spilling on in here. You're going to notice the difference early in the morning. We're going to be right near record territory here in Atlanta. 55 or so. You see the record low is 56. Back in 1896, in some areas in North Georgia, be down into the 40s. It's September, but we're certainly getting an early taste of fall. Look at your forecasted highs for tomorrow with a cobalt blue sky. It's going to be magnificent sunshine, mid to upper 70s in many spots. We're going to hold on to this delightful weather until we start seeing the impacts of Hurricane Irma. So here we go. Chilly start tomorrow, sunny and cool on Friday, mostly sunny on Saturday. Your Sunday's looking good with clouds on the increase, and then it looks like showers and thunderstorms likely Monday, Tuesday, and moving on out by Wednesday. New information on Hurricane Irma. That's coming your way in just a few minutes.
All right, David, thanks. Well, she pulled a Houdini. A shoplifting suspect slips out of her handcuffs, and that wasn't her only trick.
And a man carjacked by a robber wielding a machete. But instead of getting away, the suspect lands himself in the hospital.
Coming in sports, outspoken Falcons first-round pick Takk McKinley is silencing himself. But why? Cody will try to get something out of him in his report. Meantime, the Bears are believing in their first-round pick, quarterback Mitch Trubisky.
I think he surpassed everybody's feeling.
That and the much-anticipated debut of Braves lefty Luis Gohara on Fox 5 Sports.
A Paulding County resident fights back when thieves try to steal his truck. Deputies say when the suspect shot at the homeowner's son, he fired back. The 26-year-old said he has no other choice. Deputies say the would-be truck theft turned into a shootout on Old Villa Rica Road around 5:30 Wednesday morning.
open. I come running up to the truck. They start shooting through the windshield at me, and I seen the flash. I hit the floor. I could be dead right now. I could have lost my life over a truck.
Deputies say the culprits jumped in a getaway car and took off. No one was hurt in that shootout. Well, a Texas woman fought the law, and the law eventually won, but not before she slipped out of her handcuffs, stole a patrol car, and led police on a wild chase. Look at this. Tasha Sponsler was arrested in East Texas on shoplifting charges and put in the back of a patrol car. Now, while officers went through her stolen goods, Sponsler got free, climbed into the driver's seat. That kicked off a 23-minute chase at speeds of 100 miles an hour. Officers said they could see her reaching for a shotgun in the patrol car, but thankfully it was locked to the vehicle. Police eventually used the pit maneuver to stop her. Sine?
Well, Russ, a carjacking suspect had to be rushed to the hospital after he crashed a stolen car. Police say the suspect pulled a machete on the driver of a Toyota Camry just before midnight on Whiteford Avenue. Well, the owner of the vehicle claims he was hit with the butt of the knife, but then released. Police caught up to the suspect a short distance away when he crashed on an I-20 entrance ramp. And Oregon firefighters risking their lives battling the Chetco Bar wildfire. And that's why it's unthinkable that they became victims of a burglary. Now, while firefighters were sleeping early Saturday morning, thieves ransacked 2 trucks, stealing thousands of dollars worth of equipment, including an oxygen tank, an axe, and a firefighter jacket. Well, still, crews continued to battle the flames, which have already ravaged more than 180,000 acres. Police still looking for those thieves tonight. Russ?
Well, Sine, was it a crime of opportunity or a planned attack with coffee? Tonight, police are searching for a robber caught on camera ambushing an armed guard.
And it's the first thing that pops up if you Google the word tiger, a wild animal on the loose in Metro Atlanta. Well, tonight, the mystery is solved, and we have details next. A fight between a cat and a dog making national headlines tonight, but it's because the cat in this case was a tiger.
Yeah, the wild animal was one of 14 big cats being transported from Florida to Memphis overnight when it got loose in Henry County. The 6-year-old Bengal tiger named Susie wandered around I-75 for some time before finding its way into a subdivision. Henry County Police responded to numerous sightings before officers eventually caught up with the cat in the backyard of a home. Police say they were forced to shoot the tiger. That's the saddest part of the whole thing, because it was about to pounce on a family's dog. As for how it escaped, that remains a mystery tonight. The driver says he stopped in Georgia to feed and water the cats and didn't realize one had slipped out. I mean, it is pretty big, but didn't realize it was missing until they got to Tennessee. The remaining 13 tigers are still on track to catch a flight to Germany.
1, 2, 3. What if Matty Ice repeated as NFL MVP? Just throwing that out there. You got to think positive, because as we saw last season, Matt's success equals team success. And when he's in a groove, he dominates. Sunday's opener against the Bears is his first real game since the Super Bowl. He's ready.
I'm excited. You know, I think that's probably the biggest thing in all 10 of these that, you know, is the one constant, is that, you know, you're excited for the season to get started. And there's anticipation for this game, probably unlike any of the rest of the year.
Now, if you've seen and heard Falcons first-round pick Takk McKinley, you know he's a different kind of guy. He's got personality, expresses himself, really outspoken. So imagine our surprise when we heard he was going dark this season, as in cutting himself off from the world of social media. Cody Chaffins investigates in this report.
For most millennials, from the moment they wake up till they go to sleep, they're right here, on their phones and social media. But Falcons rookie Takk McKinley says with the season now here, he's done. Takk tweeted this Monday night, deactivating all my social media accounts by midnight for a while, changing my number tomorrow. If you don't hear from me, oh well. Tell me about the social media blackout and why you needed to do that.
It just had to go. Like I said, I'm a Latin Falcon. I'm a professional. Just got to focus on football. Just got to get my mind right. You know, sometimes, you know, social media, video games, etc., can become a distraction. So, for me, just, you know, what's what will allow me to, just focus on football and social media. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and check my Instagram, and it just became a distraction, so I had to get rid of it.
So how long does he really think this will last?
I don't really know. But as far as I could be back on it tomorrow. I don't know. It's an adjustment, though. It's an adjustment because, I'm on my phone and there's nothing there. So everything, Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, I'm gone.
And there was no weaning. Tack went cold turkey, and there's no patch or gum for this, so the rookie's doing the best he can.
I don't get no text messages, no good morning text or nothing like that, so I just gotta scroll through my camera roll and just find something to do.
Falcons head coach Dan Quinn said Tack will be heavily involved in Sunday's game in Chicago, and said his advice for the rookie is do what we do, run and hit. In Flowery Branch, Cody Chaffins, Fox 5 Sports.
Cold turkey? I don't think Chandler can handle it, do you? Deadline for the Hi-Fi Sports Game of the Week is tomorrow at noon. We'll have an update on that. The Falcons, Bears, all coming up on the edge. Russ?
Sounds good, Ken. Thanks very much. An armored car courier is ambushed at a local gas station, but police say the robber was armed, but not with a gun. We have details just ahead. David?
And Chief Meteorologist David Chandler here, waiting on new information of Hurricane Irma. That's the radar out of San Juan. Check out the satellite image. It's as eerie as it's been. All right, we'll take a look at the new information straight ahead.
A scalding hot cup of coffee used as a weapon in an armored car robbery in DeKalb County.
Now, police say the thief, disguised as a construction worker, went unnoticed until he took off with a bag of cash. It happened at a gas station on Panola Road in DeKalb County.
Fox 5's Deidre Dukes has the video. Police hope will help them catch that robber.
An armored car courier caught off guard by a robber with a hot cup of coffee. It happened at this QT, and now police are trying to catch him before he strikes again.
There he goes, starts to creep, throws the coffee on her back, picks up the bag and runs at the same time.
Take a good look at the man in the construction uniform on the left of your screen. DeKalb police tell Fox 5 he was caught on surveillance camera throwing a hot cup of coffee on a Loomis armored car courier as she swapped out money in an ATM machine.
So she's distracted by the coffee. Obviously, it was scalding.
It happened at the Quick Trip on Panola Road in Lithonia at around 11 a.m. on Monday.
She was doing her job. A subject in a construction uniform walked in the store. At some point, he was milling around in the store. We're not sure exactly what he was doing. He did get a cup of coffee, and as he was coming out towards her and she had her back to him, he threw coffee on her, and at the same time simultaneously picked up a bag of money, an unknown amount of cash, and he ran out of the location.
Surveillance video shows the robber walking around the QT parking lot before the armored car pulls up at a side entrance. He then follows the courier into the store. After reviewing the surveillance video, investigators believe this was no random crime.
It looks like it was planned out. This person knew some parts of the schedule or whatnot, so we're looking into a lot of leads at this point.
A Crime Stoppers reward is being offered in the case, the FBI working with DeKalb PD. In Lithonia, Deidre Dukes, Fox 5 News.
Well, her toddler tossed her wedding ring in the toilet. More than a decade later, it's back on her finger. You won't believe where it was found. Well, there are a few things you expect to find in the toilet, but bets are a wedding ring is not one of them.
Yeah, hopefully not. A Colorado woman has been reunited with the wedding ring she thought was gone forever. Sheila Hatfield says that her toddler daughter accidentally threw the ring down the toilet over a decade ago. The family did everything they could to find it, from sticking cameras and vents to even going to a psychic. But they couldn't find it, so they accepted it was gone. But now fast forward 11 years.
Just recently we started doing some remodeling. I just looked down and I saw this old rusty washer that was coated in gunk, and I'm like, ew. I had it like this and I was looking at it. And Larry's like, what is that? And I'm like, do you know what this is? It's my wedding ring.
Well, she says she's happy they started remodeling the bathroom. They're not exactly sure where the ring was lodged or how long it stayed there. We're hoping it was in the toilet's tank. Well, a 5-year-old, the newest member of the Butts County Sheriff's Office.
Yes, and Kyle may have a prosthetic leg, but it's not slowing him down. He's even had his first assignment already, a football game on a Friday night. Butts County Sheriff Gary Long says he made the decision to deputize Kyle after the two spent about an hour together. That night at the football game, Kyle detained several people, but in the end, he let them all go. Sheriff Long says Kyle takes his job very seriously.
I looked down, he actually had the pistol out on 2 ladies there. So I walked down there and I said, "What's going on, Kyle?" And he said, "They're coming on the field." And I said, "Well, they're coaches." And he said, "Well, they don't have no whistle. They ain't supposed to be on this field."
I love it. Next, Kyle says he wants a pair of gloves so he can give pat downs like the other deputies. The sheriff said, "Well, we'll think about that." And Kyle said, "No, right now, please." What a love.